welcome to Recovery Report Live. I'm Dan Odess, president of GlobalPro, where we manage risk to recovery, and we have managed more than $1 billion in that recovery. Many of our clients have become to realize that they need insurance coverage experts early on in the process, and that's why they call us, and they make sure that we provide them the information that they need and guide them through the process. That's what we're all about. And right now, obviously, a lot of people are dealing with and uncovering the issues and discovering the damages that they sustained from Hurricane Ian throughout the East Coast area. This storm didn't just affect Florida. Obviously, it went out into the Atlantic Basin area and started continuing up through the East Coast, and it certainly affected the northern part of Florida, Georgia, and the Carolinas. The storm carried with it a tremendous amount of storm surge and rain and wind that impacted certainly the west coast of Florida, but as well as central Florida, North Florida, and up through the Carolinas, as I mentioned. So right now, we're in the recovery phase, right? We're a week into this, a lot of humanitarian efforts, a lot of loss of life. Our hearts and prayers go out to all of the communities that have been impacted by Hurricane Ian. We were on the front lines and continue to be at the front line, to be part of the solution, to helping our community recover and rebuild and build back stronger. That's what the message that we've been carrying with us and working with all of the first responders and everyone that came thereafter to help all the victims of Hurricane Ian. Our office in the Naples area has been extremely busy dealing with policyholders and as well as the community and making sure that they have what they need. We teamed up with Camilla's House and Heyday Marketing and Lifestyle Miami and collected, hundreds of things and thousands of items that our community needed. Our community continues to need so much more. So check out our website or go on our social media and read about what we've been doing and what you can continue to do to help with the relief efforts in those hard-hit areas. Believe me, they need more. What we've already done just scratches the surface. We need to continue to do this. I understand, and I've talked about it after other major storms like Hurricane Michael, the news cycle just will continue to move on to whatever's next, whatever fits the agenda. But the reality of it is that these victims, our communities, are going to continue to deal with this for the years to come. And right now, they need us more than ever. So don't just think because the news cycle moves on to some other hot topic that this community is already rebuilding and recovering. Now, we have great stories coming out about the bridges opening up and about the electrical companies coming in and helping, and disaster relief getting to the hardest hit areas, some of the barrier islands off the coast of Florida area. But believe me, there's so much more that needs to go. Those are the uplifting moments. We're excited to hear about those things. But just because the bridge opened up and the trucks started rolling across and they're getting electricity back to certain areas that have been hard hit doesn't mean, again, that the recovery efforts have stopped. We are on the front lines. Now, I want to transition a little bit because I do want everyone to wake up to reality. While there is a massive humanitarian effort that is ongoing, and as I mentioned, they need our help, there are a lot of policyholders making claims. And we've already heard stories about independent adjusters working on behalf of insurance companies that are claiming that they can't access certain areas. Even as of this week, we are told by several adjusters that they cannot access Sanibel, Captiva, and a few other places. It's not true. We've been there since literally a few days after the storm. We were on the island helping humanitarian efforts, scoping and looking at damages. We obtained our passes that we are required to have in order to get to these properties, to be able to identify the damages and scope the loss and start to put together our estimates of the damages. We started doing that. Now, interestingly enough, while the insurance companies' representatives are creating these issues and delaying the process, they passed legislation recently that was lobbied for insurance companies that says from the date of my contract on a residential property or condominium or condo unit owner's loss, I have an obligation to provide an estimate of a damages in support of a proof of loss within 60 days. Well, the insurance company has 90 days to issue a coverage determination, and their representatives are claiming they can't get to the property. Even though I'm obligated to provide you an estimate of the damages within 60 days of my contract, and I've already been there. Now, if that isn't a prime example as to why you need representation in your claims and your loss and damage, I don't know what is. And that these are poor homeowners that lost basically everything. Think about what that means for your community association or your business. They're the same professionals, all right, that lack professionalism and lack of sense of urgency to help our communities recover and rebuild. They're the same insurance companies that time and time again get sued for doing these types of things by making excuses. We have one commercial loss right now that the business owner got so fed up with dealing with the reassignment of the claim. He is on a third adjuster assigned to his loss within 1 week. Third adjuster, and no one has been out to the business location. They hired GlobalPro. They turned to GlobalPro to make sure that their rights are protected. Because you know what? If you don't want to inspect it, that's fine. I'll put together the estimate, the proof of loss, all the documentation I need to make the claim. I'm submitting it, and I expect full payment. Full payment. Why should I expect anything else? All I see are excuses and delays. I've talked about it on prior episodes. There are less adjusters today than ever before. Your claims are going to be delayed. Your claims are going to get underpaid. I mean, it's almost a guarantee that in a situation where you have something like this, that there are going to be problems in the claims process prolific throughout the. Now, you may not be aware of what is going on because you may be dealing with the humanitarian issue that is on your hands because you're representing hundreds of unit owners and you're a board member and you have a fiduciary obligation and your focus is on trying to get people's homes back together. And here you have insurance companies taking advantage of this, making excuses. One adjuster told us that he had 140 files assigned to him within the first few days after the storm. 140 files in the first few days. These are stormtroopers. They blow in and blow out. They're not there for you. They're there to do a job to get paid for and to work on behalf of the insurance company. Just remember that and understand that. This isn't just a heartfelt story and just trying to be doomsday about it. These are real facts, real information I'm giving to you from the front lines. I've been out there. I've been on Sanibel. I've been to Captiva. I've been to Matlacha. I've been to all these property areas, and our office in Naples is buzzing. The phone calls are coming in. We're dealing with both our own clients, other policyholders, as well as insurance companies and experts, coordinating things, giving access. We have boats almost on a daily basis going back and forth to the different various islands, carrying our clients, carrying insurance company adjusters that keep making up these excuses that they can't find a boat. We've been doing whatever we can to make sure that people have access to these damaged properties to help with the rebuilding and reconstruction process. Why? Because if the cash doesn't start to flow into these areas to help people pay to rebuild and to put their lives back together, it's never going to happen. And I understand the humanitarian efforts with the donations, and we certainly have been a part of that. But it also takes money. It takes that policy, that contract that you paid for to do what that product was, do what it's supposed to or was intended for. It requires your insurance company to make good on their promise, to pay you, to financially make you whole, timely, to do it in a timely manner. Now, doesn't mean that you run to make claims and that you immediately give notice of things. We heed warning of that. But we want to make sure that you're doing this properly, accurately, make sure that it's timely. Timely is really important. I had on last week, Matt Sangster, our Senior Vice President, was with me talking all about that, was talking about those specific issues. If you hadn't seen that episode, go check it out on a YouTube page or LinkedIn as well. Click on it, listen to it. He gives 3 really good, solid points. And one about that is, one of those points is about timely notice, right? Timely notice is different than immediate notice, right? So if you know what you know at that point to make claims, then that's what you know. Don't act as an expert. Don't try to insert or attach adjectives to things. The fact is that you either had flood damage, you had hurricane damage. That's it. That's all you know. That's what you know at that moment. You're focusing on those recovery building efforts. Let's make our insurance companies make good on their promise. Let's hold them. Let's make them accountable to their obligations to us as policyholders. And we want to be there with you. So if we can do anything to help you, 855-487-7475, or check us out online at globalpro.com. But this segment's not all about that. It's also about the changing tide of the real estate market. Why? Because with these major storms and the pandemics of the past, as well as the hurricane, the landscaping constantly changes. And our next guest knows all about this issue. Now, what I find most interesting is how they do it. And I want to bring on Amir with Pando Companies to join us to talk all about his company, what it's going on in the commercial real estate market, because we are always looking forward, Amir, at GlobalPro. We always are trying to predict what's going on, what's going to happen next. And I know that's what Pando Companies is all about. So tell us about your company. Well, first off, welcome to this show, Amir.
Thank
Thank
you
you so
for
much for
having me,
joining
Dan.
us. All right.
Yeah,
So,
thank you for having me.
so tell us about Pando Companies, why you started the company, and why Texas.
All right, so it's three questions. I started as an investment banker actually, and about 5 years ago, we started to take U.S. real estate companies public in the Israeli market. It's a long story, but um, in the process, I worked with several debt brokers in the U.S. and I realized how much this process is a country club or good friends from golf club. And I thought there is a lot that we can improve, and that's where I started Pando Companies. I brought in several smarter people than me. We have an AI PhD that's working with us from Tel Aviv University. We have several people from the intelligent Israeli military, and we have several engineers. And the idea is that instead of, as I said, to work as a country club where uh, you need a loan and I have a banker that I play golf with, we actually make sure that every lender that can help you get the best terms, we approach him. And the last question, why Texas? So it was a pure economical decision. So most people from Israel or most finance companies are in one of the coasts. We thought that either Texas or Florida are the best markets in the U.S. Texas was more centrally located, so that's where we started the company. But we didn't know anyone when we started. It was a pure financial decision.
Awesome, man. Well, clearly you surround yourself with smart people.
Yeah.
And I like to think I do the same here at GlobalPro. I mean, we always say that we're licensed in many other things other than just insurance. Why? Because it's complicated. You need to have a depth of knowledge and experience. Yeah, your team certainly has that. When it comes to real estate, obviously insurance. The type of insurance we deal here with GlobalPro is a lot to do with actual real property. So I understand the complications and how complicated it can be. And I'm sure the underwriting process can use a lot more AI these days than ever before, certainly with the changing market conditions. So how easy is it for potential lenders to get access to your platform? And how have you signed up so many different types of lenders across the country? I will be honest with you, Rob Bowlby, our market president in Texas, who you know, walk me through a little bit and show me your website and a few other things online about this stuff. And he has a very deep banking background, as you know. And he gets all excited about this stuff and just went on and on and on and on about it. So talk to me a little bit about how easy is it for potential lenders to get access to your platform, and how have you signed up so many different types of
Right.
lenders across the country?
So there's really three ways that we sign up lenders on our system. The first one is just meeting them, and in conferences or relationships we had in the past, and we just added them. The second one is that they went to our website without us even knowing who they are, and they registered themselves. And if they go to our website, they can do it. The third one, which that's where the technology became interesting, is whenever we have a deal in the market, even if we don't have a presence in this market, we have a technology that goes and tells which lenders are active in this market and who will be the best fit for the specific loan. So, for example, we, if we have a self storage, and I'm telling you a real story, self storage deal in a very small market in Missouri. Uh, so obviously, large banks from New York and Texas will not be a good fit, but not a lot of debt brokers have relationships with the local banks that can do the $1, $2, $3 million deal for self storage in a small town in Missouri. But using our technology, we were able to find more than 30 lenders. At that point, we contact them, we talk to them, we add them to our system. So moving forward, we'll always be able to contact them again. But we also talked to them about this specific deal, and we were able to get several debt quotes for this specific deal.
Interesting. It was, I find the underwriting process and the lenders and everything else just, I mean, obviously since the recession, right? There's been a clamp down on underwriting and the need for more information, right? More data points, right? And it seems as if your company is serving that need in a very unique and different way. And I again find it fascinating. As we got to mention before the show, we have a tech company here, and we deal with like tens of thousands of data points. It's such a daunting task, and so when it comes to the underwriting process, and I think this is an important thing to keep in mind for those that are recovering from disaster, right, and rebuilding, particularly for your commercial clientele, right, the real estate investors that we represent and everything else, and they're looking for loans, they're looking to expand their portfolio, they have an opportunity here to reconstruct and rebuild, possibly even maybe different than what was there before because of the absolute devastation. How has the underwriting gotten much tighter in every asset class? And where is there any areas where you see better performance or more stringent guidelines? Where are the opportunities that you see right now as it relates to underwriting?
Yeah, so the underwriting became absolutely more strict. I think the lenders learned from the last recession that they can't go and be over leveraged. So even if we are going to recession, I think commercial real estate will be fairly safe, unlike last time. Um, they we had 2 years of extreme growth in rentals in the multifamily or industrial. Hotels did very bad and then very very well, especially in the south, especially in Florida. Um, and retails was it just depends what kind of retail you were. So it's really become almost a case by case thing. For example, in multifamily in Texas and Florida, in Phoenix, in the last 2 years, we saw 15% year over year, 2 years in a row of rent growth. Can we see it in the future? Probably not. But on the other hand, inflation is high, and you expect it to hit you at some point. With paying more to workers, energy bills are higher. The insurance is more expensive because everything is more expensive, obviously. The property taxes are becoming higher. So the lenders when they underwrite it, they also it's easy to grow the rent at 5 or 4 or 3%. But on the other hand, if the costs grow faster, so they have to underwrite to a tighter debt coverage ratio. And on top of all that is obviously that if 2 years ago or last year you paid 3 to 4% on your property, and right now you're paying between 5 to 7%. The leverage has to come down to hit the 125 debt coverage ratio.
It's interesting. I mean, these are just like it's at a high level. There's a lot. There's these doomsdayers, right, that are like prepping. I was actually just reading a report this morning, as I do every morning. Drinking the coffee, the whole cliche thing. I'm reading the Financial Times over there, just trying to get up, caught up on what's going on. And I swear I read the same person say that the recession's going to be 6 to 9 months from now, say that we're in the recession. It's like,
Yeah,
I'm like, are we in it? Are we not? I heard you say the word. So I had to jump on that,
yeah.
Amir,
I,
because,
you know,
yeah,
oh, it's Nassim Taleb, if you're familiar with him, has a funny saying that if you want to know how the news is not relevant, read the newspaper 2 weeks ago, and you will see
yeah,
how off everything is.
yeah.
If we knew when the recession is coming or how hard it's going to hit, all of us would be very rich right now, and we will not have a recession. But the thing is that we just don't know, and I think we should be very careful on predicting. But there is a lot of prophets that tell you one day one thing and the next day something else. And we had, and it's a side joke, but we had in my first job when I worked in a macroeconomy department in one of the largest Israeli institutions. We had a joke that the chief economist every week came up, and doesn't matter what he said last week, he will always come and say, "As I predicted last week, that's what happened," even though last week he said something completely different. So
Yes.
it doesn't matter. You can say whatever you want.
Well, it's like meteorologists get paid to be wrong, right? It's
Exactly, exactly.
and I equating it to my
Or
my
the
ear
weatherman in or the weatherman in Texas is paid to be wrong.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So I was in my intro segment where we were talking about where on the what I was focused on today, which was Hurricane Ian. I mean, the literally the path of the storm is completely wrong, and that's actually right now one of the things they're investigating is where there are early enough warnings but if you actually look at the path of the storm, it's supposed to go through Tampa, and I kind of equate that to this discussion on the recession. No one really knows where the crash is. Hurricane Ian decided to enter the state of Florida way earlier than it was supposed to. So are we in one? Are we not? Who knows? But I think being in the real estate industry ourselves, we have a vertical that invests and redevelops in our real estate itself. I've been in construction for literally way over 20 years now. I put a lot of lotion on my face to look young, but the reality though is that I remember building through the last downturn in the recession, and I remember those that survived it, right? And I'll air quote that word. Um, and I look at what they did, and I look at today, and I hear about companies like yours, and I'm like, today is so different than then, and everyone's talking about then. I'm like, then it was so different. The underwriting guidelines they didn't even exist, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
even through the recession, you saw people with cash with big opportunities in front of them. And it seemed like that was what won the day then. But I don't know that that wins the day today because you have so many other variables added into there, which is this whole work from home movement, which kind of seems to be fluttering. Now it's the quiet quitting, and that kind of went away. I just feel like we need
Right.
headlines, so they just keep coming up with more crap to kind of convince people not to go
Right.
to work. But
Right.
the reality of it is that I think the landscape is it changes so fast. How is your AI keeping up with all of those changes the at the rate at which it is changing?
Yeah. So what we do is less about predicting uh, what will happen in the macro level and more which lenders are going to give us a positive
Right.
answer, what will be, we have a recommender system that tell us probably this lender will offer this loan terms and this lender will do that, and you should probably talk to this lender. So it's more a micro predictor and not a macro one. But so it helped us. I'll give you an example that happened during the in the midst of the pandemic, about in June or July. We have a client that calls us outside the country. So without going into the details, it's much harder to get a loan for a non-U.S. citizen that doesn't live in the country to person to live here, and he wanted to build a hotel, not a great flag, in Miami during the pandemic. He was looking for a construction loan, and he couldn't give a personal guarantee because he doesn't live in the U.S. and it's the first hotel he ever built in the U.S. He has several in East Europe. Um, so it by all means it's a no. Nobody can get a loan for that, but we were still able, because we cheated the system by using a smarter machine than us. We were able to get him a construction loan, non-recourse, 70% loan to cost.
Wow.
So yeah, it was a
Wow.
great deal. So I
I mean, I'll stop you right there, Amir. That's crazy. I mean
it,
that's
it, it,
that's
it's
impressive.
wild.
And I made my earlier comments because when people think lending, they think macro. But what you just demonstrated is that a lot of these decisions are being made on the micro level. And that's kind of where I was getting at, was that I think a lot of, and my earlier point, which is that a lot there are still winners even during the recession in the
Yes,
real estate market.
and
And I think
and
I think what you're offering is that opportunity to stop listening to the headlines, stop looking at the macro. Let's get micro with this. Let's look at your individual issues. Let's try to deliver some value there. And I really think that's what your company's doing. I mean,
yeah, and and that's exactly, we had a house, my wife and I, investment house that she was worried about selling it, and I told her, listen, we don't have to sell it to 10 people. We just need one buyer. And it's the same thing about banks. We're going to talk to 100 banks. We just need one to say
yes.
yes. We don't care if 99 the 99 others think that the economy is bad or good or whatever. So our what we're doing is finding the lender that thinks that this product is still good to give you money. If I disagree, even if office is good, office is bad, retail is good, retail bad, doesn't matter. I need to find the person who thinks that your product is good and is willing to give you money.
Awesome. Well, I want to switch gears a little bit and talk quickly about you know part of the due diligence process.
Yeah,
Our and because we have a lot of people that come to us for insurance services, right?
yeah,
And a part of that micro issue that we see in a lot of and not a lot of in some of the markets, particularly really hot markets like South Florida, insurance is a big deal, right? It's a cost driver. It nowadays, which it never did before, makes or breaks deals. Are lenders performing differently in these markets with tougher or harder insurance markets and costs? What should our clients be looking for when dealing with lenders, or is there something they should be saying or doing, or what can you offer as it relates to those issues as insurance and the due diligence process?
it's a great question. So we see more and more lenders asking for a third party company to bring an estimate for some of the expenses. The two main ones are insurance and taxes. So they used to be in the past that the tax was $100 million. Sorry, $100,000, and you put point 0.8 on it, multiply it, and you're good. Today we see on taxes and insurance that they ask to bring a third party. It doesn't have to be a report, but opinion from a third party company saying that's what's going to be the insurance after they buy the property or after they develop the property. And on other expenses, they usually use comps, so they ask the appraisal to give their opinion. But definitely on insurance and tax, we see a lot of lenders asking for a third party opinion.
So what's all right? So that's so what is so then with that in mind, what's your outlook on the future of debt brokerage and your business, right? What's the advantage to clients using your service? Because I'll be honest with you, you got my wheels turning, right? I was actually in the process right now and looking at buying several rental properties. And of course, I've reached out to my banking relationships, okay, how can we do this? We have this, that, and a little bit of early due diligence. They ask me for certain things. What is the advantage for clients, real estate investors like myself, in services like yours,
Yeah.
rather than going directly to a bank where we believe we have that trust already?
Right. So there's two things. First of all, we respect the relationship that you have with the bank. So if you can come with your quote and tell us that's what my banker gave me, and we only get compensated if we get better quotes. So you can still. I'm not asking you to not do it. I'm telling you go do it and then come to me and let me prove that we can do better. So there is a lot of advantages of working with your own bank. Someone that there is trust. You can call them in the middle of the night and all that. I understand that and I respect that and I know that all this is good. But I can give you a case study of a cabinet maker from Texas that called us. He had a relationship with the bank for 35 years. They gave him a quote. We took him. We put him in our system. In about one day, we reached out to 35 lenders. The next day, we had 24 debt quotes. And after a week, he got a term sheet from a bank that offered him a discount compared to what he has, 150 basis points. So we saved him, you know, on a $10 million deal. You save, over 150. For a time maker, it's a
Oh,
lot of money. Over $150,000 a year on a
oh
20-year
yeah, yeah,
loan.
yeah.
It's a lot of money.
It,
So and I didn't tell him, if he closed with his bank and he did better than me, so give me your bank contact. I want to add into my system because it means that I didn't talk to him also. So I'm not competing. I'm competing with your bank. I'm not competing with you. I'm bringing you value.
well, we will be in touch.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you.
So, yeah, we're always looking for opportunity, and while our team is certainly on the front lines helping all the victims of Hurricane Ian and the communities, both on humanitarian level as well as providing insurance services. Our real estate, team just continues to forge ahead, even in these downturns, because we're looking for opportunity, and I still believe there is a lot of opportunity in the market. Obviously, like most banks, we're a little bit more patient than we were before.
Yeah.
We do a little bit more due diligence on our side. Certainly don't want to get over our ski tips. Unfortunately had a lot of friends of mine really get beat up during the last recession, and certainly never want to see a situation. There's just no reason for it. I mean, people just way over leveraging themselves, just reaching for the stars, hoping that they just don't get their legs swept up from underneath them. Now with all that amazing story, and advice and conversation we've had, how can our audience find out more about Pando Companies?
So you can go to our website, it's pandocompanies.com. I don't know if you can put it in the link
We
below
will.
later, but oh, thank you. You can reach me or any of my partners in the email with my first name at pandocompanies.com. There is a contact us on the website. You can reach through LinkedIn. Any way that you find Panda Companies, we will get the contact and we'll reach back out to you.
Well, Amir. It's been awesome to have you on, man.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
It's a tough economic time. We have major disaster on our hands, in a market. By the way, think about the market that Hurricane Ian affected, from the west coast of Florida through central Florida up the east coast, into the Carolinas, and you think about what in the last like 2 to 3 years, the appreciation of real estate values and the development that has occurred in those markets, and then you have something like Hurricane Ian come in and just basically wipe some of these properties right off the map, literally. It's just and we're in a tough economic times, and I know we joked about it earlier about the people that the kind of the meteorologist theory where they get paid to be wrong. But the reality of it is that we are in a tougher economic time. We are.
Yeah.
I mean, the world is at war in essence, and so and sadly, there's both economic and a physical war going on, right? And you're hearing about I just saw another report about India and Russia and the souring of that relationship, which was like a big headline like 4 months ago, how great that was going to be. The conflicts with China and these things, all these things go. And influence decision makers, which the trickle down effect, with economics, impacts all of us, in so many different ways. And it's great to see companies like you out there on the cutting edge, making a difference, offering tremendous value to clients. And I'm excited to have you on today. So again, thanks, Amir, for joining us from Texas. I haven't been there in a couple weeks because of everything going on here. I'm looking forward to visiting and celebrating our 1 year anniversary in the Texas market with Rob and his whole team there. So thank you so much for coming on today, Amir.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for having me, Dan. I appreciate it.
Well, interesting conversation. I know we're in tough times right now with Hurricane Ian. You see it right there at the bottom of the screen. My head's there. It's with the victims. That's where a big part of GlobalPro's focus is. But we have many offices in many different markets throughout the country that did not experience the devastation caused by Hurricane Ian. And if you're fortunate not to have been affected directly by it, do what you can. Step up, donate, be a part of the solution to help our communities build back stronger. We're there on the front lines. If you're in the real estate market and you're looking to make change or looking for that opportunity in these tough times, there are opportunities. Amir's company, Pando Companies, is incredible. We're going to make sure that all that information is down there in the description and the caption, so you can click the links, find out more information. As Amir said, reach out to them directly. These guys are incredible. I'll be honest with you. Doing my own research before they came on the show, I couldn't believe some of the things I was reading about this industry and the use of AI through the application due diligence process and finding lenders. I was always one of those guys that just really leaned on the relationships I had with the banks to help me grow and become successful in my respective businesses. Knowing that there's other people out there creating this type of technology that can do just a little bit better, is really just give you that edge. And I think that this can help. And as he says, reach out to your banking relationships, let them prove their value, give them that opportunity. We say the same thing here at GlobalPro. We're investing in technology as well. We're developing AI of our own for the use of insurance. Give us that chance. Let us prove our value. I can tell you right now, there are so many victims from Hurricane Ian that are not getting what they're entitled to. There are so many, because we're hearing it every day. We're hosting town hall meetings where people are just literally will just line up and they're ready to sign up with us. Why? Because after just a few minutes of discussion about their experience versus testimony from one of our very own clients about what their experience, they realize how much they don't know. And the reality is that unless you know law, you have background in construction, you understand engineering principles, you've gone through an adjusting process before, you've spent decades doing it, thousands of claims, billions of dollars in recovery, there's absolutely no way that you have the skill sets, the access to resources, and the foresight to know what you need to do, when you need to do it, and do it as well as we do it here at GlobalPro. So to find out more information about us, to listen to more interviews like this, like we have with Amir, to add value to your day, to your business, and your community, check us out at globalpro.com. Make sure you subscribe, like us, follow us on all our social media. We want to make sure that you have all that information. That's what this show is all about. We'll see you next week, same time, same place, right here on the Recover Report Live.